Hello, everyone. Welcome to In the Neighborhood with your hosts, Tim Johnson and Stacy Borho. Together, they are finding out what makes the heart of the Heartland beat. They sit down with people in your community that lead organizations, businesses, and government. You'll learn who they are and what they're involved in and why. They are the people in your neighborhood. It's In the Neighborhood with Stacy Borho and Tim Johnson.
Hi, everybody. This is Tim Johnson, and today we are with Chuck Weaver. How are you doing, Chuck?
Nice to see you guys.
Thanks
Been a
for
little
coming
while.
back.
You
Yeah.
bet like the new digs you got here.
It's pretty fancy.
pretty
Tim's
cool.
done a lot of
Really.
work.
Changing things around all the time.
Yeah.
Well, you haven't even been here. You were at the old place down that they're getting ready to tear down here.
Well, he's actually been at all of them, right? He was
Peoria Heights.
You've been to
Oh, so
WMBD.
that's- yep.
So all four.
Right.
very
right.
first WMBD.
Where are we next time?
We're
Here.
staying here now.
Good.
Or we're coming down to see you.
Okay.
So,
That's right, Springfield.
Let's plan on it.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
be glad to.
Beautiful
tour.
building. We'll find someplace neat to have a corner we can do something. Okay.
Awesome.
Good.
So who are you?
Oh, gosh. I didn't expect that one to come. Chuck Weaver.
There you
lived
go.
here 61 years. Grew up on the same farm I'm living on now. Was a city councilman. Ran KFC stores most of my life. Good stuff. I really enjoyed that. And now a state senator.
And how long has that been now?
2 years, a little over 2 years. Yeah, I like it. You're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to say, oh, this is terrible. I'm really working hard for everybody. I am working hard, but I enjoy it. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of good stuff. As tough as Springfield itself is, as tough as our political environment is, you can make a difference in this job. And it's just a pleasure and an honor.
What's your favorite thing about being senator?
So my morning today started at 6 a.m. with a young person. I mentor every morning at 6. And that's one of the things that when I go to bed at night, I can say that mattered. I mean, meeting with somebody, this was a young guy today, just thinking about his career and thinking about something he's trying to do to start a new program at his church, which is a really neat thing on mentoring that he wants to do.
Sure.
And just to help people process is pretty cool. And I'm old, so I bumped into every mistake you can make. So when somebody says, I'm going to try something, I go, ooh, I wouldn't touch that, or say jump, go with both feet. Right. So.
Is that your 6 a.m. walk that you've been doing for
Yeah.
how many years?
It's been chilly, probably 4 or 5 years, yeah.
And
Great
if you've
stuff.
ever
I haven't
walked,
seen you walking for a while.
if you've ever seen him, took a walk with Chuck, I was running at the time when
Oh,
I
come
started
on.
walking with you, and the walks hurt worse.
Don't tell people that. So the
You're
funniest
scaring
story,
them away, Tim.
funniest story is this gentleman. He was a portly guy, and we start walking, and people call us, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you." And so as soon as we get across 150, so this is my house, we walk across to where OSF has their property there, and they've got a beautiful walking track. And as soon as we got across 150, I said, "So what's on your mind?" He said, "Going back to my car." Or how do I get home, or something like that. So I said, you don't feel good? He goes, this is going to be tough. I said, let's go to Starbucks. So that was the end of that walk.
Okay, so now you know that you could talk them out of
You
that.
bet. I think I even bought the Starbucks.
Awesome. Well, you're really into creating small businesses. I know that's not necessarily on any of our agendas, but
That's okay.
it's something that you've done. You've mentored me in some ways, going out and doing the walks. And what is it? Why do you do that?
So the first thing that popped in my mind is it's intellectual stimulation is something we all want, right? It's just fun to be thinking about how do we solve this problem. I've always enjoyed solving problems. So that's the first thing that popped in my mind. Just from an altruistic standpoint, I was a lucky kid. I had 2 amazing parents. I watched my dad go from broke to a successful guy, and I thought, you know what? Anybody can do that. They just have to have the opportunity and maybe the right mindset. And so to be able to share that with what I've saw my father and mother do, what I've been able to do on some of my own businesses to help people think about that is a fun thing.
So starting up a new business, yeah.
Some of them work, some of them don't.
That's right. Do you know a percentage, like
Yeah,
startups?
I've never even thought about it on my own. What I'm doing now, though, is trying to tell people, and by the way, I've never had an original thought in my life, but when I hear something good, I write it down and memorize it and try to think, how do I can use it in the future? Prove or disprove your hypothesis. as quickly as possible. So the hypothesis is, I think I can do this business. That's the scientific term, hypothesis. Everybody wants to prove it, and they'll spend 5 years in their mother's basement trying to prove it, when really in probably 2 weeks you could have said, this is not going to work if you just look at this one thing over here. So figure out, I tell people, think about the different paths they need to study, think about how deep they have to study each one, and then figure out which one can I use to prove or disprove this idea as fast as possible. Because you're ahead to prove it fast and try something different, as opposed to disprove it fast, and try something different.
As a hypothesis, I'm always, as an entrepreneur, I'm always putting out 5 ideas, and I grab the one that grows the fastest and go with that.
Double down.
And too many people, when they start a business, and I've started businesses that have not gone anywhere, you spending time on things that aren't fruitful at all. Yeah.
You hit around, so that's the whole point of that, this prove and disprove.
Is 5 years still, I used to hear that, like if you make it 5 years, then you're good to go.
So, the Central Illinois Angels just had their first successful exit, and we started that in 2005, no, must have been 2009. So 8 years before we had our first successful exit. Now, some of those failed quickly. Some of them are walking dead, meaning they're still surviving, but may not go anywhere. Others, you could see we're going to be successful, haven't gotten to an exit yet.
So you said one successful exit, meaning they don't need you guys anymore, or what does that mean, a successful exit?
That company sold to someone else, and so the investors got their money out. And that was a 4X, which means 4 times the money. And that investment, I believe, was 3.5 or 4.5 years. Since there's only one gentleman out of the Angels that got in that one, by the way. So he looks smart right now. But so if he put in $25,000, it's now worth $100,000, and it took 3.5 or 4.5 years. I don't remember the specific time.
It's still a pretty nice return.
It's wonderful. But as a group, we've invested, I think we're probably $12 million now.
Invested into the community.
And that's 45 people, all doing, it's $10,000 to $25,000 pieces each. Each person selects which ones they want to be in. So last night we had a meeting.
Okay.
Someone came and presented. At the end, you do a green sheet, not anonymous, privately, confidentially to everyone else, so that somebody doesn't see. Glenn Barton was in that group. And it shouldn't be something where Glenn said, I'm in on this one. Everybody goes, well, if he's in, I'm in. That's not the way to make it. It might have been Glenn's brother-in-law said, I'm helping my brother-in-law. Well, he's a good idea. So each person makes an independent decision. And then at the end of the night, if they gather and they've got 6 people that filled out their green sheet, yes, those 6 people now go over here separately and they do their investment together. And then the next meeting might be, so that one was just one guy by himself that did that by himself. So,
wow. Very interesting.
Yeah. So your man with that's running the mic back there, I'm going to blow my nose and to shut this off.
Do our best.
Understand. So we had elections yesterday.
Yeah. I was talking to my dad on the phone yesterday morning. He goes, make sure you vote. And I said, what am I voting for? Yeah. And so he started naming people, and I'm like, you're not answering the question that I just posed.
Primary.
So tell us about that. So someone who doesn't even know, because I'm sure there's other people out there, people said to vote. Go make sure you go vote. What is it doing?
So the primary, what it does is the Republican Party will put forward a candidate for governor. Democrat will. Well, how do you decide which Republican gets to be our candidate for governor? So the primary process is what determines that. And so that was what was yesterday. So there was primary for Republican governor, a primary for Democrat governor, and then you go right down the ticket to Attorney General, very important race. Erica Harold's a really solid woman that's running on the Republican side. On the Democrat side, a gentleman named Kwame Raoul, who has a relative in Peoria, by the way. Mimi Vollmer is a wonderful gal, and I think Kwame's her cousin, but Kwame's a senator and a nice guy. Erica, as much as I love Kwame, I'm all in on Erica. Fantastic woman on the Republican side.
I was really surprised, too, by the number of women that I saw on the list.
Most, and I didn't know you were going to ask that question. I just saw something a few weeks ago that there have now been, I think the congressional races this year has more women than ever running. And it took us a long time to get there, didn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, good.
But really cool to see.
Really
and
cool.
See what the outcomes are.
I would recommend to anyone watch the Warren Buffett documentary, maybe about who is Warren or something. I can't remember the name of it. Really good stuff. He talked about, he had an interesting relationship with his mother and his father, is just my impression of it. But he said, think about how well America has done, and think about the fact that African Americans were not allowed to succeed at the rate they should have been able to intellectually, right? Meaning they've got all the intellectual abilities, right? But for some reason put them in a box and said, you don't get to do the great stuff, right? And then you take women, that they were only there to help their husband as opposed to go do their own thing. And he said, we were, you know, we had half the workforce working. I shouldn't say that's not what he said. He said we have half the people with mental capabilities to do great things were the ones that were able to do the great things. And his comment was, you know, I was born in America, so I had a 1 in 40 chance of doing better than everybody else in the rest of the world. I was born male, which means you just double that, so I had a 1 in 80% chance to do better than the rest of the world. And I took that and I wrote that down, and I added to it. I had bombed Virginia's parents, so I had a 1 in 1,000 chance of doing better than everybody else. I'm serious. You know, I live 3 miles that way, and there's all kinds of wonderful kids living 2 miles this way. And if they had my parents, their future would look different. But they're stuck in tough environments, and we got to figure out how we're going across racial barriers to solve that. Didn't know we were diving into that one today.
Diving into all kinds of things.
You bet.
We can have a long conversation. We have about 7 minutes,
Oh,
8
my.
minutes left, so we're running through it pretty quick. But I always ask the question to you. We're living in Illinois. Is there hope?
Is there hope? We've got some really important decisions to make. Really important decisions. And this election yesterday says now we're going to have Bruce Rauner running against J.B. Pritzker. And Republican Party's been shattered. It was a tough vote yesterday for him. And I think, I'm going to talk as a Republican for just a second, we really have to unify. And I think regardless of party, people agree that Speaker Madigan it's time for a different leader on the Democrat side. Democrats need to decide if they agree with that. And then regardless of that, I believe Governor Rauner is the key to making that change happen. And if the Democrats don't decide that they're going to replace him, the Republicans have to step in and figure out that he needs to be replaced. But we need a new leader at the top of the Democratic Party. I mean, I didn't know I'd do this today, but I'm going to do it. I take this chart everywhere. Speaker Madigan became Speaker right there when we were AAA rated, and now we're BBB minus. And they tried to say Governor Rauner's a junk bond governor. Well, he got elected right here. He's catching a falling rock.
Right.
There's not a person in the country that should have this kind of a record and say, yeah, he should keep leading. So is there hope was your question. We will not solve the problems for 10 years. But the day that we say we've got a plan to solve the problems, because the problems, it took us 30, 40 years to get here, is there's a progression of how you get them solved, right? The day people say, you know what, that's a plan I believe in, is the day people now get happy with where our state is. That's our bond rating. If you said, when we do these 3 things, our bond rating improves, people go, I believe that. They'll be more content. When that happens, what's happening with our housing, the ability of your house holding its value, what's happening with jobs. So I think people can be happy with the state in a year. All the problems won't be solved for 7 to 10 years because we got a lot of stuff to unwind. But I'm okay with that. I think most business people are. They say, you know, if you can show me the plan, I'm okay. But I got to know you got a plan.
Yeah. So we're seeing a lot of exodus from Illinois because of all the problems that are going on. Hoping to bring some business back in.
Right.
Yeah. So what's big on your list of to-dos?
Yeah, so I was going to talk about the governor's public safety group that he just put together because of gun safety, but we've got 4 minutes, and you really got my mind around what we've got to do about business in our state. I believe the way we need to look at it is it's very difficult to bring in business because why do you change if you're happy where you are, right?
Right.
The key, and that doesn't mean we can't bring in business. The key is bringing in brains. Okay? how do we keep the best brains in our state, and how do we encourage people with brains to come in, because they're the ones who will start the business. It's not about can you add a new manufacturing plant, because there's things that are going to happen dynamically with competition. It's can you bring in the person that can start the new manufacturing business. And I'll give you the best example. Deepak, you guys ever heard of Deepak? Who runs a company called Virtue Sense. It's still in Peoria next building. He's one of the smartest guys in town. And he wanted to go to U of I. He was from India. He needed a full ride to get a visa. Bradley gave him a full ride. His plan was go to Bradley, then transfer to U of I. Fell in love at Bradley. He's in Peoria for life. This guy will employ people in our city. It is, you've got to figure out how do you get the smartest people, because in the new economy, it's all about the new thing that we're going to design, and also how we take existing things and do them better. So we've got to have, Bradley has to be healthy, what OSF is doing to bring people into town. Caterpillar, there's some work we need to do there with regard to still some disconcern in the city over what their future is. Caterpillar will stay here with a healthy presence. I believe that. They've got a tremendous amount of R&D work going on here, innovation work. If you wanted to be able to say, what's your community do? We have a company the size of Caterpillar doing innovation. That can bring great brains to our city.
Very
Thoughts?
cool.
Oh, yeah,
What can we do as citizens to make it better, to keep focusing on the positive that we do? I mean, because we are, and that's why we do what we do, is very philanthropic. We have a lot of issues, yes, but we also have a lot of giving people. So what else can we as individuals do to help improve?
I've got 2.5 minutes. I wasn't going to talk about this day either. I've got a project I started called the 1,000 Pounds Project. You're going to hear, I'm kicking it off April 4th with H. Wayne Wilson. Basically, I've got 5 mentors from different ethnic backgrounds, some of the smartest people in town. You would know all their names if I mentioned them. I've got 5 team leaders, all different ethnic backgrounds. Each of those team leaders will have 1 mentor, and they will select 4 to 6 people to be on their team to solve 5 problems in our community. If anybody wants to get involved in that process, this is going to be pretty cool. And I've already been meeting with the team leaders. I'll meet with them 2 hours a month to get them to work on best practices. They're meeting with their mentors 1 hour a month. And then they will pick their teams and pick their projects over about the next 90 days. It'll kick off in November for how do we improve our city. So if you guys want to be on a team, wow, you'd be great.
Of course.
Yeah.
Why not? That's what we do.
Yeah. Beyond that, government's a huge part of our lives right now. Do math is what I want to tell people. They say, what should I do? Do math. When you walk in to vote, don't listen to what all the ads say. Think about, can that person really accomplish what he says he's going to try to accomplish? And do I agree with the direction? Negative ads work. That's why people run them. You got to make sure you go to some debates, find out what's this person really saying they're going to accomplish. I got a minute. I heard Bernie Sanders say, 2 sentences, same paragraph, the plight of the black male is the worst thing in our country. He's exactly right. They're unemployed. It's because we're not educating them properly, and they come from tough environments. And we need to raise the minimum wage. Those getting black males working and raise the minimum wage cannot happen at the same time. That's math. Because as soon as you raise minimum wage, the people that fall out are the people with the skill sets that we haven't taught people. And so my point is, don't listen to that stuff and say, oh, those are great ideas. You got to say, what's the math in that? Can we accomplish it? And which of those 2 are we actually going to attack? Right? So just an example.
If somebody,
11 seconds.
if somebody wants to get involved, we'll blow past that a little bit.
Great.
If somebody wants to get involed with that, with those
1,000
teams,
pounds?
how do we get involved?
You can email me at chuck@senweaver, SENWEAVER.com, chuck@senweaver.com. And Jennifer at my office is managing that. She'll send out an application, or an application for somebody who wants to be on a team, or an application for a not-for-profit that says, I've got a problem, we need 6 really smart people helping us think about it. We'll be taking applications for that also.
So
Thanks
is
for
there
asking.
applications online somewhere?
The website will be up by April 4th.
Okay,
The
not
applications
yet.
are completed but not posted. We're still working on that a little bit.
Very cool.
You're
So
on
right
top of
here,
things.
we got to
All
find
right.
something new that a lot of
Yeah.
people don't know about.
You
So
bet.
thanks for bringing that.
Yeah, I'm glad to be a part with pretty much anything that you put out.
Thank you
we're
very
on
much.
board.
You guys are awesome.
It's been really good to get to know you on a personal basis and realize you're a genuine person trying to make a difference.
Thank you. You guys are too. We're proud of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks.
Have a good week, everybody.
PeoriaLife.com